too out of the ordinary. For Monday, we've got our seated hamstring stretch for 30 seconds, our supine arch holds for 30 seconds, and then box shoulder stretch for 30 seconds times 4. So the seated hamstring stretch, the goal is a straight line from the hips to the feet, and then a straight line from the hips to the fingertips. So arms extended above our head as we sit upright, and our legs extended without any bend of the knee. And then we don't want any sort of flexion other than at the hip. So as we go to lean forward, the arms don't traverse forward. The neck doesn't flex. No part of the spine should experience any flexion, or really real extension for that matter. Like we certainly don't want to hyperextend. The supine arch hold can be done on the floor. It's the floor equivalent of a nose and toes handstand hold. Backs of our shoulders are in contact with the ground. Our heels are in contact with the ground. And then from there, we want to push our hips up towards the ceiling as high as we possibly can and try to get it so that only the back of our shoulders and our heels are what's making contact with the floor. For our box shoulder stretch, this movement we perform on a box 20 inches, 24 inches, 30 inches. It may vary from person to person, or even from session to session. So as we're performing the box shoulder stretch, it's one of the, there's markers for improvement on most of the connectivity stuff that we do, but some more than others, I would say, are going to be sort of, glaring in sort of exposing, how much improvement we've done. So the box shoulder stretch, we certainly should be able to see specific markers, in the range of motion that we're able to achieve from session to session. And then as we get closer and closer to the floor, meaning our head, chin, armpits for that matter, because that's the goal, is to place the palms on top of the box, push the hips back towards the heels, and then drive the armpits down towards the floor. So the closer we get to the floor, the more elevated we may want to get in subsequent sessions. The Metcon for the day is essentially 10-8-6-4-2 of barbell work, coupled with 50-40-30-20-10 meters of mini sled push. So the mini sled push is done in the basement portion of the gym on the turf. Typically what we'll do is we'll set up a cone on one end and then a cone on the other, 3-4 feet from the ends of the turf. And typically we will then perform laps around the cones counterclockwise. Now that's if, in particular, that comes in handy if we end up with 2 or more athletes on the turf at a time. 2 actually could be performed, relatively comfortably, just going end to end and sort of turning kind of in place. But if we have, particularly if we have 3, I guess, or more, kind of going single file around counterclockwise tends to work out the best. And then if I need to take a breather and I have people coming up behind me or are in front of me and I need to get out of the way, I can just sort of push my sled off to the side momentarily while I catch my breath and let athletes continue going around as needed. Even still, with all that being said, I think our magic number is 4, because I think we have 4 sleds that have the handles. So it's never going to be more than 4 on the turf at any given point, regardless. So the workout is, like I said, 10-9-8-7-6-5-4-3-2-1. I think I may have said 10-8-6-4-2 before. It's 10-to-1 of cleans and jerks. A little bit, less than conventional as far as the method though, because rather than seeing 10 clean and jerks and then 50 meters of sled push, we see 10 cleans and then 10 jerks. And the touch and go are referring to touching doing the 10 cleans unbroken, tap and go off of the floor, and the 10 jerks are referring to tap and go off of the shoulder. So you could rest, on the clean, either on the rack or perhaps in the hang, just as long as it's not resting on the floor, certainly not stopping and letting go of the barbell or dropping the bar. And then likewise for the touch and go jerks. Now that doesn't mean 10 touch and go cleans, then 10 touch and go jerks for 20 total touch and go reps. You could rest after the 10th clean if you needed to. You would just be adding a clean because you can't rest after the 9 and then pick up the 10th like you normally would. So it is 10 tap and go cleans, so 10 unbroken touch and go cleans, and then 10 unbroken touch and go jerks. So similarly, if either of those you do say 9 cleans and then decide to rest, you would have to then do 10 cleans all over again because it's 10 unbroken touch and go cleans followed by 10 touch and go unbroken jerks. Then make your way downstairs for 50 meters of mini sled push. 50 meters, that's 5 lengths, so 2.5 laps, I guess. So 2 laps plus 1. So we typically, I think I have laps sort of bookmarked for about 15 seconds. That's sort of the over-under that those tend to take. Certainly could be done a lot faster. Certainly could be done a little bit slower. But I think 15 seconds is usually what I sort of proxy in there. So for 50 meters, it generally sort of comes out to maybe 45 seconds, if that. It's probably more like 38.5 seconds or something like that. So for the 250 meter ones, probably looking at a minute over under total, if that. And then maybe a little bit more time, maybe closer to 45 seconds if we include the travel time to get downstairs and then back upstairs. So after that 50 meter sled push, you've got 9 touch and go unbroken cleans and then 9 touch and go jerks. So again, if you do the 9 cleans and then need a breather before you're ready to start the jerks, that's fine. You can break there, but it will require an additional clean. And then if you break before you're done with the jerks, then you have to start that round over and then do an additional clean as well. So it's 50 meters after the 10 and the 9. And then once we get to the 8 and the 7, it's 40 meters after each of those. And then it's 30 meters after the 6 and the 5. And then it's 20 meters after the 4 and the 3. And then finally it's 10 meters after the 2 and the 1, which really, once we get down to maybe even the 20 and the 10s, it really becomes more of a, it's taking longer to go downstairs and come back up than anything else. But really, it's just giving you a little bit of additional breather and sort of bookmarked time for a little bit of a reprieve, I guess, from the unbroken clean and jerks or cleans, jerks, and then the subsequent snatch and overhead squat. So once we hit the 5, you'll notice that the movement changes. So we're going 10, 9, 8, 7, 6 of the touch and go cleans and then the touch and go jerks. And then for the 5 to 1, you've got 5 touch and go snatch, followed by 5 unbroken. So I didn't put touch and go there, but it's unbroken overhead squats. So that becomes another unbroken 10 reps, another unbroken 8 reps, 6, 4, and 2. So you've got 5 tap and go snatch. Again, you could rest overhead if you wanted to. You could rest in the hang if necessary. Ideally, we're not, when it's a touch and go unbroken set, we're not really looking to add any rest. I mean, if we're gaming it, then we're gaming it. And we just have to sort of accept that. I mean, really the idea is that we're doing tap and go unbroken cleans and jerks and snatches and then overhead squats. So when we hit the 5s, you've got the 5 touch and go snatch unbroken, followed by 5 unbroken overhead squats. Then we have the 30 meter sled push, 4 touch and go snatch, 4 unbroken overhead squats, and then we continue until we hit 1 snatch, 1 overhead squat, and then a final sled push for 10 meters. Now, if we have a larger class and we're only going to have those the 4 sleds, like I said, even in the longest sled push, the 50 meters, probably only looking at 38 seconds. So at any given time, somebody might be getting off of the sled and offering one up to you. So it's probably not going to be any longer than a 30 second rest or weight, if at all. But if it's, if that happens, then that happens. So for that reason specifically, I didn't put a hard and fast time cap on this, but with it being the 10-to-1 rep scheme for the barbell, and I think it comes out to 300, I'm not sure, 300 meters of sled push. I could be wrong about that, but I think about 15 minutes is good for a workout like this, being that it's built in, that it's tap and go, and then the sled pushes are, I would like it to be a load that's going to be appropriately challenging for us, but something that still allows us to pull off a decent sprint. Usually what that ends up being is about a 45-pound plate. That's sort of the over-under for that. Could be two 45s and then a 45 and a 25 or something like that. So those would be like the two different loads. But I'll just sort of leave it up to you. If you feel like you're going to be able to sprint for 5s, 5 lengths, 4 lengths, 3, 2, and 1 length with two 45s on there, have at it. But if it's going to slow you down to a trudge, then that's a little bit too heavy. For the barbell, 75 and 55 for A, 95, 65 for B, 115 and 80 for C.